And she said, oh my God, you have to meet up with Michelle. And I was like, why? What happened?
I know Michelle. I
know how she, I know Michelle. And she's like, she's an old person. And I was like, oh, nice. And she's like, no. Like, I mean it. I really mean it. She's transformed. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And because the woman that I remember was just like, strategy, go forward. And at that point, also in our journey of entrepreneurship, it was like, I need that. Like at that point, it was like, oh my God, I so want to do that. And at that time, the universe was not aligned for that to happen. I was like, I so need someone to help me like get direction, because you ooze this authority of understanding business in a way that is very deep. Like you see things in a different light. And I think that's still your magic. That hasn't left you. And the human that showed up for that was in a different energy. It was in a different vibe. The woman I get to witness now is more flow. It's more fun. It's more play. It's more truth. It's more love.
More love.
So I love that transition. So tell me what happened. Like, what was the thing that brought you back to center? Like, what was that process? What happened in that transition?
Well, there were a lot of things. And I would say that if I really think about it, like the main catalyst, and you've talked about this before on the show, was I found a mentor. And I'd had mentors before, but never one like this. His name's Jake. And Jake was 15 years younger than me, whippersnapper. And he was spiritual, and I was not. I was a self-avowed atheist. I was very business, science, all the things. But there's something about, I think my higher self, my soul was drawn to Jake and his energy. And so he took me on. He really saw something in me. He saw the power that you mentioned, like the strategy and the brains. And I always had that, but he also could see my potential of like my soul and my heart, which I didn't really share much. And so he came in, and when we started working together, he operated from the inside out. And he wouldn't give me permission. He wouldn't allow me to do it any other way. And I would go to him. This happened for like years, a couple of years, where I would go to our meetings with like a notebook and pen and, okay, what's the strategy and blah, blah, blah. And he'd be like, put the pen away, put the notebook away. This is not about strategy. This is about you. And he would, and I'd be like, Jake, but I really need to figure this out and this out and this out. And he was like, Michelle, are you meditating? And I'd be like, ugh, no. He's like, finally, he actually put a standard where he was like, if you're not, I'm not going to keep meeting with you because it's a waste of my time. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll start meditating, I started doing that work. So really what transformed, I would say Jake was the catalyst, and the work was to go in rather than to operate from the outside, the strategy, the circumstances, the market, the opportunity. It was to start with my own energy, my own peace of mind, my own alignment. And taking responsibility. That was another thing, because there was a lot of victim in me with what happened and the breakdown and all that. There was a betrayal that happened. There was a lot of blame. There was a lot of shame. There was a lot of finger pointing out. And what he helped me do was point the finger in and be like, oh, I created this. I didn't, go out and ask for this situation, but ultimately I created it. And we don't want to get into all the ways that I did that, but I did. Mm-hmm. And I believe that we create everything, actually. From a higher soul level, now I have the perspective that everything around me is created for me, for my growth, for my expansion, especially the hard times, especially the difficult stuff. And so I now have a completely different perspective. Like looking back, I see that I needed that experience. I needed to have the breakdown. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I never would have had that shift and awakening were it not for the work I did with Jake and then other mentors. Then I started to really pursue a spiritual path and mix that together with the strategy.